Hey everyone, Phil from 3DP UK Tech Channel. Today's review is on the QIDI Plus4. Now, this has been out for a while. QIDI reached out to me and asked me if I would like to review this on my channel, and hey, why not? Now, I did have some reservations when I first received that contact, especially around the fact that it was the Plus4. However, I've seen some mixed reviews on that. I've seen a lot of issues that people have raised since they've purchased it or reviewed it, and some of them being quite extensively big as well, given the fact that there's a safety issue around it. I don't want to focus that on in this video. I just want to base this review video around my thoughts on this printer. Obviously, we know there was an issue around the heating chamber and the fact that there was issues around the 110 volt board. I am based in the UK, so I have a 230 volt rating on this. So I'm hoping that with this being a second generation model, that I shouldn't see any issues. But like I say, I'm not going to focus on that throughout the rest of this video. I'm just going to showcase some prints. We're going to go over the specifications of this machine, the uses that you could have, and my final thoughts on the actual printer itself. So let's go over some of the specs quickly now, and then we'll revisit it again later in a bit of detail. I'll go over the actual machine itself. Now, normally on my channel I do an unboxing and then a build, but this was really too easy to even bother doing that. It's a heavy box, so it's definitely a two-man job, or if you're feeling fit, you should be able to do it yourself. The most difficult part was actually trying to remove it out of the box itself, but QIDI did think about that, and they have put these handles in, so it has made it a lot easier to pull it out. In terms of unboxing and build, you're looking at a couple of brackets, which is to keep the bed stable during transit, a little bit of cardboard and some cable ties just to keep the printing head in place, unpackaging the actual air filter or the filtration pack in there, so you want to make sure you do that, and then you literally go into calibration and stuff like that. Really easy touchscreen UI, walks you through that, and it was seamless for me. So I don't really want to focus too much on, there's enough videos out there on that. I really wanted to showcase the actual printer's capabilities, some of the prints that I've done, which I've got over here, which we'll go over at the end of this video. Now, some of the specs that we're looking at for this particular printer, we're looking at a bed size of 305 with 280 on the Z. We're also looking at the fact that this particular model is a second generation, so it's had the heated chamber modifications. However, I cannot confirm that. I don't know whether I'm going to open it up and check that. It might be something I'll do in a future video. It's got the upgraded tool head, so we've got the multi-metal stainless tipped nozzle on it, so you can do more exotic prints. So some of these filaments that you want to do, that would cope with that. It's also got the 9mm belt, so it's going to be a lot better in terms of its rigidity, especially with that being a wear material. A lot of these other competitors to QIDI have used the smaller belts, and we've seen issues with them in the community. So the fact that they put 9mm on there is brilliant. We got 6mm thick beds, so that's going to help with warping. It's all very well having automated bed leveling, but if your bed's warping, it's still going to be a nightmare, as people have seen in the community once again. Got the new UI on this as well, and the 5-inch HD touchscreen. Now, some of my complaints about the touchscreen is that you can't move the actual screen sort of on an angle. It's literally fixed in that position, but once again, the community has resolved that with some modifications, so there's always that if you want to do that. It runs on a Clipper V12, so full access to that, so you can keep an eye on it through Moonraker and other sort of UI connection points for that. 1080p camera, had some issues, I'm not going to lie with that. Very grainy to begin with. At first I thought I left the actual plastic tab on it, then I realized I had actually removed that, and when I was monitoring some of my prints from the computer somewhere else, I just felt like the actual image was so grainy. Now, I did search some of that information on the Facebook groups, and the feedback that I've seen from that, always click on the search bar. it's good to ask questions, but it can be a repetitive question that other people have asked, and some people take kindly to it and some people don't. My suggestion is it's always good to ask questions, but do click that search bar first, type in some sort of reference word in, and it should take you to some conversations that have already had that. Now, the conversations that I searched up was the actual camera quality. And what somebody had actually posted was that they took it apart and you can actually manually focus it. I did that, tried that, completely worked. And ever since I did that, the 1080p looks like 1080p rather than 720 or worse, 480. So ever since, my time lapse have been great. I should be able to show some of them later on in the video. If not, I have captured some prints while it's in process. A lot of people have really commented on the aesthetics of it, that there's lots of different names for it. I haven't got one myself, so I quite like the look of it. The actual function of it has been, for me, has been flawless. No issues in terms of the calibration or anything like that. Done some amazing prints on it. The bed size is perfect for masks, which I've done a few of those, so I'm going to show you those in the later video of this video. The only other thing you need to do is connect up the spool. I'm not too keen on it being there, especially if you wanted to sort of house it on shelving. I think there's other options out there as well. I believe we're getting multicolour installed onto this. There are some connections and ports in the back that can do that. It already cuts the filament and ejects it out of the back, so there's always that. You've got the glass doors and the lid. I did print off this little attachment from the community, and that just allows me to print PLA and just have the lid just to allow some of the actual heat to come out of the chamber. Other than that, self-leveling as well, so if the bed kind of goes off center, you've got a button in there and it'll level out the bed, so it does that tilt adjustment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through some of the prints that I've done, and at the end I'll recap some of the prints that I've done, and we'll go over some more specs, and we'll also go over sort of a visual of the actual printer itself if you haven't already seen it. But overall, so far, 100% worthwhile taking on this if you wanted to go out and purchase it. QIDI did send it over to me for free to review. However, on this channel, I always try to give a impartial opinion on it as if I'd purchased it myself. Ultimately, the community needs that honest opinion. There is always going to be someone questioning whether I do that or not. That's totally fine. I'm very much in opinion that this particular printer itself is brilliant. I do have reservations about the heated chamber, but that's something that's community wide. Anyway, today's video was sponsored by PCBWay, so what we're going to do is show a quick sponsorship video, and then we're going to go off onto the prints. So stay with us, don't forget to like and subscribe to 3DP UK. Stay with us, check out the prints now. Here they come. PCBWay are a PCB board manufacturer. On their website, you will find that they have lots of amazing deals, lots of competitions, lots of vouchers that you can use if you're planning to do any purchases. Really easy to use website as well. Not only do they do PCB board manufacturing, they also do PCB board prototyping, PCB assembly, advanced PCB, FPC rigid flex. They also do 3D printing and CNC. So check them out, PCBWay.com. Today's video sponsor. Okay, so we're going to take a quick look at the machine now. As you can see, the 5-inch display, which is HD, is really crystal clear, so you can see all of the individual settings nice and clearly. You have a localized and a USB selection for prints. So there is an inbuilt memory on that. You've got auto bed leveling, input shaping, etc. And you can also dry your filaments in here. So if you was to choose to do that, you've got the languages, the network setup, system, check for updates, and then more. So there's lots of other settings. As you can see, we have the one complaint that I did have, which I mentioned earlier on the video, is that the screen itself can't be moved. Okay, so taking on look on the inside, this one is the second generation active chamber heating. So it's the 400 watt ultra high efficiency heating with the air circulation design. It also has a dual layer insulation as well, so to keep that from warping. At the back, you can see here the activated charcoal, so make sure you remove that from its plastic packaging, otherwise it won't work. And that just slots back into place like so. Okay, so taking a look at the bed and the shafts, we've got the 10mm linear shafts and screws. The bed has been upgraded to a 6mm aluminium thickness as well, so it's going to help with the flatness of that and bed warp. You also have the locating slots at the back, so when putting your build plate back in, it's nice and easy. This Core XY printer, the belt has had a major upgrade, so we're now looking at the 9mm belts as well, so a lot thicker than others. So let's take a look at the tool head itself. Okay, so taking a look at the tool head, we've got the newly upgraded multi-metal composite nozzle with hardened tips, so exotic filaments are not going to be an issue with that. So the nozzle can handle temperatures of up to 360 degrees with the hotbed being 100 degrees. It also has the new tool head cooling system and integrated throat nozzle design, so any sort of clogs and that is going to be limited for this particular purpose. Okay, so this printer is capable of 600mm a second speed, but I would say the standard is 300. And on the screen now you'll see the handles. This is for transportation or if you're moving it around your studio or anything like that. On the left you will see the spool holder with the anti-tangle and on the inside. And then you have the push fit spool holder. The actual screws are in the printer itself, so if you're trying to look for it when you're unboxing. On the back, you'll notice that I've printed off a poop chute box. So this does have the capability, so it is going to have the QIDI box for the multicolor available for us in the future. On the right hand side, you will see the on and off switch and the power cable. So once again, this is a Core XY printer with dual Z axis. The bed leveling is automatic print bed leveling. You do have a dual-sided PEI magnetic printing bed supplied with this. Some standard materials that you can use on this is PLA, ABS, PETG, TPU, PA, PC, ASA, as well as carbon fiber filaments. So obviously the active chamber will come into action with quite a few of those. Once again, the bed is capable of up to 120 degrees. I believe I said 100 earlier, and it's 370 on the nozzle as well. And the heated chamber is 65 degrees. So what we're now going to do is take a look at some prints, and we'll go through some of the issues that we might see with them or any benefits that you have from certain types of filaments. So let's head over to some of these time lapses, and what we'll do is a final recap of the printer itself and my final thoughts. Okay, so what we're going to do now is check out a benchy print. Pretty standard that most people do that on their first ever print. This took 20 minutes. I used the standard black PLA on this just to see if I could see any issues with it, any ringing, etc. As you can see, this isn't too bad. This particular filament was slightly damp. I did hear some popping while it was printing. I was under the impression it should be all right, but not much stringing. Overall, the quality of that has come out really well. So now we've got some time lapses that we're going to go through. So this was a Christmas ornament, and it was actually done in a dual color filament. So once again, quite wet, so you can see quite a lot of stringing on that. This is simply down to the filament itself, but you can see once we do the highlight of that at the end that there is quite a bit of stringing in there. But a heat gun got rid of that in seconds, so it's not going to affect the print in any way. So as you can see, it's come out really, really nice. Right, so we're going to do another model now. So this particular print stopped, which I wanted to actually test. So I used some old filament. As you can see, it stopped because it's run out of filament. So what I now need to do is just do a quick change over to an identical filament. So this is a PETG white by JMG He. I do use theirs, so I'm going to refill that and hope that it continues to print and we get a decent print. So now we're heading over to the completion of that. We've come back and it looks like it's knitted really well together. You don't see any real major pause lines in there, so that's always good to see that the pause and resume works. As you can see, I've put a whole new roll of the JMG He PETG. definitely check them out. I'll leave a link in the description for that. Now we've got a time lapse of another model from Pipecox. Once again, this is a geisha model. I really like all of his designs, so I always find that they're quite technical and quite complex, so it's good to see the printer's capability with that. As you can see, that's come out really, really well. Obviously, this would be suitable for a multicolor printer, and this is something that this will have in the future. Okay, so this is a functional model. So I actually wanted to print off a purge bin for the back, which you saw early on in the video. This is the time lapse for that. So right now we're on the first couple of layers. I wanted to show you the quality of the first layer. This was with the auto bed leveling, no adjustments at all in the Z height. As you can see, it's coming out perfect. Now this is a temperature of 240 degrees with the bed at 70 being PET G. I'd still leave the lid open slightly with that attachment that I've added. And as you can see from the first layer, pretty cool. I haven't got the active bed heating on at all, so I don't really need that on at the moment. And just looking it in from above, which that's another reason why I like this printer. You can actually monitor it from the top. If you want a time lapse from the top or from the side, you can do so. As you can see, it's looking perfect. Now this has been completed pretty much, so we're on the last few layers now, and a couple of supports needed just for the overhangs. Probably didn't really need it, but just for the purpose of that. Now this was only a 2-wall print, so you can see some of the infill, which is why you get that impression of like ringing, but it isn't that. That is just the fact that I sliced it like that. And then what we're going to do is put it on the rear of the printer, as you see it earlier. It's got a little carry handle, so you can just disconnect it and chuck it away. It also has a gap there, so to allow airflow still, being that that's actually attaching to the air vent at the back of the printer. Okay, so now we're attaching that purge bin on the back. You'll see 2 little slots that it literally just pops into there, drops down. Not much weight is going to be on that, and the little poop chute goes straight into that. Had a couple of flyers that went down the back, but it does the job perfectly. So the next print I'm doing in PLA. This is actually for a large scale 320% dummy 13 model. Once again, I'll leave a link in the description. Placed all of these down. These are no supported models, so perfect for this. This print was about 5 or 6 hours, I believe, and we'll check out the quality of that in the next part of this video. As you can see, once again, an above video. I wanted to just show you how it is so cool to be able to monitor it from above. And this is the completed dummy 13. This is the armor. So we actually do the body in PET G because it needs to be far more rigid, which I'm going to show you a time lapse of that in a second. And what we'll do is we'll show these models at the end so you can see the outcome of this. And here we have the actual body itself, once again in the JMG heat. PET G, I did need to use a heat gun to be able to put these models together, but like I say, I'll show you that. And these are all the time lapse that I did so far, so check out the rest of it. Okay, so for my last test, I thought I'd try out some PACF. I haven't used this, so I had to dry it out for quite a bit. I'm printing off a side part for the K1 SE, which doesn't have any sides or roof or doors, so I thought I'd try that out. It came out okay. Did have some initial issues with temperatures, but I adjusted that and it's come out really well. So that particular model was perfect. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the QIDI Plus4 review. I'm going to show some prints that I've done on this now. You would have seen some of the quick video time lapses and overviews. These are some of the prints I've done. So you've got the moon world. You can find that on Printables. I will leave links in the description. And I used rainbow filament with that. So this particular model was done in PET G. That was one of my preferred filaments for this review, to be honest with you, because I was testing out some filaments, so it made sense to do both of them at the same time. And as you can see, this mask came out absolutely perfect. I had no adjustments, a few supports on that. And once again, another model from Pipecox, this come out, and this was PET G as well. I wanted to use a slightly more stronger filament because of where it's going to be. It could be in some direct sunlight. Okay, so going back to the moon world that you can find on Printables, I really like using this particular rainbow filament. It really brings the model's colours out. And for this model, I really enjoyed printing this. This is the Dummy 13 by soozafone. I'm leave links in the description as I always do. This was a 320% print. You would have seen some of the quick time lapses of that. The purple was done in PLA and the white was done in PETG. And the reason for that is that the PETG, which is the body or the skeleton, if you will, needs to be really rigid and be able to cope with lots of movement and stuff like that. As you can see from that print, it come out really well. Now, final recap. So it's a 305, 305, 280 on the build plate. The temperatures and speeds. So the nozzle temperature, you're looking at 370 degrees, so you can work with some exotic materials. The bed temperature is 120 degrees, so definitely good for that. Maximum chamber temperature with 65 degrees. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, there are some questions about that still. This is the second generation, so I should be okay. The printing speeds, you're looking at up to 600 MMS, but the standard being 300. It is a direct drive extruder. You also have the standard 0.4 nozzle on there, and it's a Core XY. You have the dual Z axis and automatic bed leveling, and there is a dual-sided PEI plate. The screen itself is HD color with 5 inches. Once again, I wasn't too pleased about the fact that it didn't have the tilt function on that. I want to now go over some of the pros and cons that I think about this machine. So the pros being obviously the high temperature nozzle and the heated chamber and the actual build volume itself. So you can obviously print some really cool projects. The actual hardened nozzle for that as well, so you can do more exotic filaments as well. The fact that it's quite a fast printer and it has the Z-axis tilt adjust, and obviously just the fact that the build quality is premium as well, and how easy it was to put together and build, which is why I didn't really focus on the unboxing and the build in this particular review. There's some of the cons for this is obviously the concerns around the heated chamber. Still had an element of doubt in there, but also the fact that I noticed with the UI, the actual on the screen, it was very sluggish and very laggy. I found that it took a while to sort of load up, so that was something that I was wondering whether with future releases for the firmware that might address that. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's review of the QIDI Plus4. I would like to thank QIDI for sending me this to review again, and for PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. Some of my future videos, I'll be working on some more exotic filaments. Obviously, this was sent around PLA, PETG, and PACF. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave some comments in the comment section. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's Phil from 3DP UK Tech Channel. Take care, everyone, and thanks for watching the QIDI Plus4 review.